Thank you for tuning in to the fourth episode of Knox Guitar Box, a Knoxville Classical Guitar podcast. I'm Andy LeGrand, and on today's podcast, I'll share a portion of an excellent conversation I had with Dr. Silviu Ciulei. Silviu and I enjoyed a visit via Zoom and had a long discussion about music and life. We talked for so long and had such a fantastic conversation, it's highly likely there will be a part B to this episode at some point. Silviu is the head of the guitar program at the University of Florida. He has many musical projects in the works. During this episode, you'll hear music from the largest of his projects, his flamenco group, the Maharaja Flamenco Trio. I'll give you a taste now, as the music will be shared about 30 minutes into the podcast. And while we're listening to Silviu at this moment, I'd like to share some news. We all know 2020 has been a heck of a year, and Knoxville Classical Guitar is ready for 2021. We're turning 50 years, and we're celebrating with a performance fundraiser involving your performances on a future podcast, a new guitar, and our founder, Lawrence Long's music. We'll share more as the week progresses. Visit KnoxvilleClassicalGuitar.com for more information. Now back to Silviu. Hey, Silviu, how are you?
How's it going, man? Nice
Good.
beard, dude.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm actually getting it trimmed today for the first time in 6 months. So,
Man, you should. It looks good.
Thank you. Well, they're just going to shape it up.
Nice, man.
It's I've been doing it myself, and I know I've got to go to the pro at this point. So, it makes a difference when I pay somebody else to do it.
Yeah, it certainly does, for sure. Like a haircut, you know?
Yeah.
But these are the days of Corona, so, I don't think anybody will take it again.
Right. How have you been?
Pretty good, just staying engaged at school. I've been teaching full-time here at UF, like in person. I mean, I have a few students who are online. And I thought last semester, once we went online, we went fully online. Like we knew like Friday and like Monday we were online.
Okay.
But this semester they've been doing it like kind of a mix and match, I'm in a different building. I got like, most of my students are like one-to-one. And I got a big office. So, that's fine. We're wearing masks. And then my class guitar and guitar ensemble and all those like, the big classes with more people in them, they just gave me the auditorium. So like everybody's like really spaced out wearing masks, and we got like a whole choral room basically.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, at least, the in-person stuff is it's good for the students. Operate a studio. We've got about a quarter of them are in person. The rest of them are still online. And that disconnection it really affects the music. Technically, everything can be there, but there's a limit in expression. So,
Yeah, and then just the tone, you never know how much you're going to rely on the actual tone to be exactly in real life, actually what it is on Zoom, we've tried other things too, and it's neither one of them is perfect. At least with Zoom, if they have a good mic and you have a good mic and you set like original sound on, and you got a good connection, you're pretty good.
Yeah. But
you can't play at the same time, you can't do any of that. It's all like question and answer, which in many ways is good, but
yeah, it forces us to do things differently. We were talking about it last night. I had a meeting. We just missed the connection, really. That's part of it. And then you have superstar students that can handle Zoom okay, and then but your younger students and folks that are beginners, it's more of a challenge to communicate what you need to do. But well, I was doing some reading on you the last few weeks. I met you, knew you, previously, but I was reading and I was like, I looked at like reading your bio, and man, like you're competition successes. It's like you're on steroids or something, And
I've done a lot of them, man. I've done a lot of them.
Yeah, that's great. That's actually something I have never done. But I was really impressed. I was looking at it, I was like, holy smokes, this guy, So that's great. So, and I guess those end when you get into your mid-30s, right?
Well, they kind of do. And, my last competition that I participated in, I think, really, I did go to the GFA after that, that same year or the year after. But I remember I joined in that year because it was cheaper to compete than to get the whole thing.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And I was like, I gave that set piece a chance, but I really didn't like it. And I was like, what am I doing here? It's really not. I've done this before. It's really not bringing me any pleasure. I think I'm at the point that I could not do it.
Yeah.
So, I did it and I played, but I didn't expect to place or anything. It was just whatever. But the last competition that I felt good about going into was the Wilson Center.
Yeah.
In Milwaukee,
mm-hmm.
And that was really nice. And over there, I won first place, and my student Evan Totcher. I don't know if you know Evan. But he got third, and we were both on the same podium. And
that's great.
I remember accepting the award, and I was like, there's a student of mine on the podium with me. And then I thought about that, and I was like, if there's a good time to retire, now is that good time to retire from a competition, that made the most sense. And I was like, what am I doing here? These new cats, they got to get out there, although, there's other people which I have the utmost respect for, like Chad Ibison. Chad started really late. He's in his mid-late 40s,
mm-hmm.
and he's still rocking competitions, and he's winning and he's sounding great. So really, I think, a lot of these people do competitions for the same reason that I did, which was just to get out there, to socialize, to meet who everybody else is out there, and just to see what everybody else's level is at. Am I going the right direction? What do I need to do? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, and there's kind of a path element to it as well. This is, you do this and look what happens, and I'm going to turn this corner and let's see what happens, and I'm going to make this accomplishment and see what happens. And you meet people, and there's connections that you make along the way. At the same time, there's you're pulling a cart, to get there. So there is an element of I'm working and look at what I'm doing, and it's a.
There is some of that too, and not just to be seen, but also to see. For example, I got my own festival now, which we're trying to do some version of it online. Man, the weekend that it was supposed to start it is when we got the call that no, you ain't doing this, and I didn't want to be that guy that's irresponsible. I could have if I pushed.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be that guy that's irresponsible, that's bringing, for this new program that he's trying to develop, a whole bunch of people on the campus, they all get sick. And then as much as it hurt getting all of those hundreds of T-shirts printed out and, spending all that on my own and programming and everything, it was just better to leave it. And I just put it down as postponed. We're going to try to do some sort of online version either later this semester, maybe after Thanksgiving, or early in the spring. What I was going to say is that at these competitions and festivals and things, that's where you meet these people that you might invite also to your own festival and stuff.
I don't think I realized that you spent time here in Tennessee in school.
Yeah, I came I was actually getting ready to go to school in Germany, in Bremen, and right after high school in Romania. And my teacher knew that teacher over there, but I didn't know him. And then I had the opportunity to meet Bill Yelverton on a tour that he did of Europe with a whole new guitar concerto and other things. And it was with some other colleagues of his from Middle Tennessee State University, including a conductor and a violin professor who was also Romanian. And the violin professor is actually from my hometown. And they came and did a concert in my hometown and a recording, which was at like the best hall that we have over there, which is not the one at the theater and at the symphony and where Bill was like playing the concert, but at my high school. We have the Silviu Ciulei hall, and it's just like a wondrous hall, and it sounds really, really good in there. And I actually was getting done with class, and I saw him recording over there, but I didn't have the nerve to go and talk to him, Afterwards, I went to the concert, and, we went with my teacher to congratulate him and everything, and he immediately made him, I asked him about his guitar at that point because we were in his dressing room, and, he was like, yeah, you want to play it? And it was like just a really, really nice Rook,
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I got to play this thing. So I played it, and it was amazing. I played, I think, like Tango and Sky and some other stuff for him. And I think that was in 11th grade or something like that. And then as soon as I finished playing, he was like, how would you like to come study with me in Tennessee? And I was like, well, right now, I don't know. And my teacher really knew the guy in Germany. So he was like, no, I think we're good, like. But then I was learning German, and German, man, it's just so hard,
Yeah.
And I speak all the Romance languages, but German has nothing in common with them. It just got to be like really, really difficult. And actually, in Germany, you have to pass this exam, and once you pass the exam, like it's either if you get the best grade, it's all free, or if you get like under that, if you're like the 10th person or something like that in list to get that exam, then you pay for it. It's not like in America, it's not like a lot of money, but it's still a lot of money, and it would have been a burden on my parents. And, we didn't know until the last minute, actually 3 days before school started, and in Tennessee is when I knew that I was going, and I expedited the process, and I went and I got my visa and everything. It was very last minute. Yeah, once that happened, I was like, I'm going to America. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, you didn't even have time to prepare for it in your head, right? I mean, it's just like, oh, here I go. And
no,
you're here.
I mean, I've been working towards it for like the past year, taking the TOEFL tests and, this application fee and fill out this form and, doing all that. But it was depending on a large amount of money, like from a donor or something like that. And the donor, like at the last minute, backed out. And we were like, they were like, oh, we're sorry, we're not going to be able to do it. And then, luckily George Reardon, my chair over there, he worked it out some other way. And like, really, I'm really grateful. If it wasn't for him and Billy Overton, I probably wouldn't be in America now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I just loved studying with Bill. I think it was really great and eye-opening. It was such a culture shock just living around the Nashville area and like finding out everything about America,
Yeah.
Getting in a car and driving around on the interstate and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, well, you landed in a great place. I mean, because even though the music is much more driven by industry in that area, you landed in a place where the music is just going all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and man, I mean, I heard that stuff before. I heard country music before, and like I wasn't really fascinated with it. But then I came over here and I saw like how much more like rock and roll it was than anything else.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was just cool to see that, like working artists, like everybody, in the pocket and like doing really well done job,
Yeah, yeah.
That to me has always been impressive, like sometimes I listen to music regardless of what style of music it is, just because of how well it's done. It might sometimes even be pop music. I'm not gonna like go out and like try to like follow the latest Justin Bieber tune, but
yeah.
If I hear something and it's cool, I appreciate it for what it is,
Yeah, yeah. That quality makes a big difference. And you could tell sometimes from the intent, of the artist and the people producing it too. You can kind of feel in the music, you can kind of feel what they're allowing to happen versus like, this is what the audience is going to like. Which makes a difference sometimes. Sure does. But when you graduated high school, you played in a concerto. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, no, my high school was it's a conservatory actually.
Okay.
It's called High School of Arts. It's not like high school.
Gotcha.
But I refer to it as high school because those were the high school years, right? Like right after high school, because that's like comparative to America. But I went from when I was 6 years old, from first grade to 12th grade to the same school. It's a conservatory. And we had general education classes like any other school would. And then afterwards, when that was finished, you start like, music theory, composition, form and analysis, harmony, your instrument, Sometimes a secondary instrument. If your main instrument isn't piano, you got to do piano as well. I went to that school for like 12 years, and it was great. I had a little bit of a break, about 3 years, when I went to Spain, and that was kind of when the concerto happened. Like at the end of my 8th grade, right into high school, basically. That was when I played the concerto, the Giuliani with the Black Sea Philharmonic.
Okay, so you were doing guitar in that school. Okay, that's
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It was a great school, but even going in, I gotta say, like, it was the guitar program was still fresh. Like in 1989 is where the Berlin Wall fell and all that stuff, and it's the same stuff happened in Romania. We killed our dictator, President Ceausescu at the time, and Ceausescu went to Spain, and they did not pull out the red carpet for him. So he was really upset, and basically banned the one thing that was Spanish in his country. Guess what that is? Classical Spanish guitar.
Wow.
So you had like electric guitar, you had acoustic, like steel string, the one thing that you couldn't find. And we even had our own like guitar factory, which was supplying most of Eastern Europe. And they just wouldn't have it. So really, classical guitar was an underground thing during Ceausescu, and it like started in the 90s. Like 1990, December is when he died in 89, and January 1990 there was a guitar program in Bucharest.
Wow.
Now I wasn't in Bucharest, I was in Constanța, which was my hometown, by the Black Sea, and it took a few years for that to start. But basically, all of the teachers that are like old kind of did it underground. A lot of them did a lot of other things. Like one of my teachers became an oboist. One of the first guys that I studied with became a accompanist for ballet. Like a piano guy. And my main teacher, actually, for the longest time in the conservatory, Constantin Axinte, he was a very, very famous. He still is a very famous singer, opera singer. And actually, towards the end of my studies, while he went on a couple of tours, I actually took over and as a student taught some of his students.
Oh, wow.
Which was really cool.
And how old were you then?
That was about 17 and 18 years old.
Okay, yeah, what an experience. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice to work with like great guitarists at that age,
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I have a strong attraction to Eastern Europe and Latin America, both of those. But I know they're very different. But I think the romantic element in their music, it's something that really, really attracts me. So I appreciate you sharing that.
And it's like the one good thing from the old Russian system, right? It's like that, like in ballet, in art, and in music, like you can really see the remnants of that. Like everything else is pretty bad, because of communism and all that stuff, right? But the one thing I guess that it brought good with it was that like demand and like, high placed meaning on like the arts and like really well done performance. Now Romania is really funny because Romania is actually a Roman country, that's what's called Romania, but it's surrounded by all these like Slav countries.
Right.
So it's funny how that works, So like our language sounds very much and reads very much like Italian or Spanish, but then a lot of it is, you have that influence, that Slavic influence. So like a lot of our words are mixed with that a little bit.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Yeah.
So you mentioned you spent time in Spain. You had a switch to flamenco at some point, and you just said you went in 8th grade. Did you go back?
So I did not go to Spain other than that period.
Okay.
I mean, I have been back to like visit or something, or for travel, but not to like stay and live there like I did. Basically 12 to 15 is basically when I lived in Spain. But it was off and on because, I was still enrolled in school, and our school did not have like an exchange program or whatever because I wasn't enrolled in another school in Spain. I was just like taking lessons, and traveling around and learning about flamenco. Actually lived with a gypsy family, which was one of the main things that was really helpful. The father and the family was cantador, a singer and a guitarist, so I learned a lot from him. And then I would go and I take lessons in Seville and other places with other flamenco guitarists. And I learned a little bit about singing. His daughter was a dancer. I was never into dance, but it was cool to be exposed to that. So just like I lived flamenco for like 2-3 years, but I still had to go back. Like we had trimesters. So in Romania, I would go back for Christmas for like almost a month. I'd go back for Easter for about a couple of weeks. And then in the summer, I would go for like another couple of weeks to a month.
Okay.
Yeah, to pass exams and that kind of stuff. And my mom would just send me my books and even food on a bus. She would like freeze it, and it would like, it's 2 days. So by the time it would come, it was in a box. It was still slightly frozen. So it was actually a pretty good system. It wasn't, Europe, it's like, now living in America, it was kind of like that, where like, you would commute or something.
What drove you to go to Spain? Was it the guitar?
Okay. No, initially not. I went to Spain. I knew that Spain was a, guitar culture, but, I went to Spain with my parents on a vacation. And I just, I saw these bums on the street that would play in, these instruments that looked like a classical guitar to me. Because there's a very small difference in the flamenco guitar and the classical guitar, but you don't see it with the naked eye. And as an untrained guy, they look very much the same. And I was like, how are these guys playing all of this stuff on these guitars? And I was just obsessed. Like my parents would lose me because I would see a guitarist and I'd stop and like, go really quick and like watch this guy play. And I would like sit and look at like the right hand and like, everything was like this with the outside, not with the inside. I was playing Bach and all this stuff, all the little fancy stuff and
finger picking, but
plucking. And everything they did was with the outside muscles. I was like, how are they doing this? I need to know how to do that. And, like my parents really, they have been very supportive of me doing this music thing. My mom always wanted to be a pianist, a musician, didn't have the chance to be. So she like, initially my dad was like, maybe you should do something like math. But then as soon as like I noticed that I was like so much into it, they were just like both on the same mission to help. So we stayed for like 2 weeks around Spain and traveled around and everything. And I just like kept crying about it, that I wanted to learn this stuff. So he had a friend who, from Romania, who actually owned a tourism company. A lot of Romanians go and work in Spain. They do a lot of agricultural work and construction and stuff like that. So there's like almost a system of workers going back and forth between Romania and they go on this guy's company. So, that's actually how I got back and forth from there. And he established a relationship with a guy. He made friends with the guy over there who was my teacher, the flamenco guy, like a gypsy guy. He told him the case, and basically, little by little, it all came together. So, my parents would pay the guy for like my rent and taking care of me and stuff and his fees and whatever. It was really nice. It was very nice. It was like I was adopted,
Yeah. So you were just you were immersed in the gypsy culture and including the music, right? So it's
absolutely, man. Including staying up late. That's how you get the music. It's like staying up late. They happen, late at night, and they're all like juergas, like they're all like parties. And everybody that's invited comes in, and they might do a dance. They might sing a song. They might play a guitar. All while drinking, sipping on a glass of nice vinito or, chowing down on some paella. They know, let me tell you, man, they know how to live in Spain.
When you started playing flamenco guitar, did it stick because of a passion or did it stick because of an ease or did they work together or what was it? Because I see you, on now online because we're not performing, and going to concerts and things. But I saw you live here. And the first half of your concert was classical. Your second half of the concert was flamenco. I cannot remember. Maybe you had a composition or two that you had written in there, but you were playing some other music as well. Maybe it was all of it. I can't remember.
Yeah, usually the flamenco stuff is my compositions.
Great, okay.
Sabicas used to say this, and I'm a firm believer of that. Paco and all of the great flamenco artists that are out there, they all write their own music, Every flamenco guitarist needs to be their own composer. And I'm not talking about like, ooh, let's be this like new avant-garde composer or like really get into, but just kind of like flamenco, the actual, just kind of like Indian music, when a guy plays, sitar, he comes up with his own licks. He learns things from people before him, but he like comes up with his own like lines and compositions. And flamenco is very much like that.
So it's kind of a constant evolution of expression, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's a
cool.
constant tweaking, which is very weird because you have these two schools, the purists, so they want really the flamenco puro, which I really appreciate and I love and I listen to, and it's like amazing. But flamenco puro got to be flamenco puro because because the people traveled through all of these different parts of the world over 1,000 years and picked up the music, from there and became the best at it. And then it mixed in the south of Spain with what was the music there. So like really, if you're looking at an art form that has continuously been evolving, that's flamenco. Yeah. So, it's really hard to have like these purists now be against like what Paco de Lucia did or what, initially they were. Now they're kind of like with it. Just kind of like how like, Astor Piazzolla was in Argentina. Everybody hated him. It was like, what are you doing to our tango? You're ruining it. But then now everybody's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Astor Piazzolla is really the bomb.
Yeah.
And, so, it's just evolution. It's like this new flamenco nuevo is, and it's got already so many like sub branches. You got like the more poppy stuff that's like Otmar Liebert and that kind of stuff. The more like Latino sort of Latin flair. Yeah, most of them play with a pick. So it's not really flamenco, but it's flamenco inspired or flamenco fusion. Some people say. For us and for what I do, it really is flamenco is at the root of it. So the pure art, like, we write in parentheses for every song that we play what the style is. It's either going to be a bulerías or it's going to be a rumba or it's going to be alegrías or fandangos or tangos, whatever it is. That's the root of it. And then, I come up with the composition. David comes up with the orchestration of it with the whole bass part that he does, and he is just the brain. My buddy David Cobb, and then on top of that, Ramin, who's our percussionist, and didgeridoo player, adds that other element. So it's really, for us, it's more of a world music vibe. It's not just simply flamenco. It's like it's really more than that.
Yeah, well, and still though, it embodies that art of expression. Now you've jumped to your group. But I do want to talk about that, but I want to finish that statement I was going to make. When you switched in the concert from your classical form to your flamenco form, there was no doubt that was where your passion was. The other side, the classical part of your concert was great and very finessed and sounded great, but you almost, it's like you lit up when you started playing the flamenco stuff. So I was like, this guy's a flamenco player. And I was, and that's when I'd met you. So I didn't know a whole lot about you. So, at that point in time, but I was
that's
right.
Awesome. I'm glad that I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that you had that experience. I consider myself both, like from my classical teachers and from people who have been in my life on the classical side, they've all been like, oh, what are you doing with this flamenco stuff? No, just do the classical stuff. And on the flamenco side, the other way, well, oh man, what are you doing that classical stuff for? Just do the flamenco stuff. They kind of like butt heads.
Yeah.
But then you have other examples like Pepe Romero or other people like that who like do them both. Everybody and the Romeros at least. Yeah. And I kind of like took that upon myself, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do both. I'm going to just try to see how good I can get at both of them. And I got to say, Andy, I think it's been a great experience. I think my classical experience has made my flamenco playing much better, much more refined. Yeah. I care about tone much more than most flamenco guitarists do.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe not so much so more recently, but back in the day, they used to be the norm, right? They used to make fun of like
The
flamenco
buzzing bass
guitarists.
strings and the
Yeah, and
tinny. Yeah.
you filed your nails. They said flamenco guitarists sound like they filed their nails on the sidewalk, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And all that stuff, and it's just simply not true, you know. I mean, you have some examples like Paco de Lucia or Vicente Amigo, even a cleaner tone as far as that is concerned. And I believe he himself, Vicente Amigo, comes from a classical tradition too. And then also, I feel like also vice versa. The flamenco playing has helped with my classical playing a lot. And has influenced a lot of knowledge, a lot of like really good knowledge, especially about, you know, some of the bread and butter of classical guitar, which is the Spanish guitar music, which, for example, you know, my dissertation is the flamenco guitar techniques in the music of Joaquin Rodrigo. You know, a lot of people play the Aranjuez Concerto, and a lot of people play, you know, other pieces by him, like Un Tiempo Fue Italica Famosa, or they play even Junto a Generalife, and they don't know that that last part in Junto, or the first part in the Aranjuez Concerto, is actually Bulerías.
Yeah.
Well, how are you going to be able to really convey that as an artist if you don't know what the root of it is, you know?
Right.
So just a lot of actually performance practice to a certain extent, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of it has been very, very helpful to me to like be able to play, I think, Spanish music and just kind of classical guitar music in a very original fashion, I would say.
Yeah. You were telling me that you've got two projects going on, and I know about your band, but you also mentioned you're doing something with your wife. I would like to play a couple pieces, and I will need your permission for that. Encuentro. Okay.
Yeah, it's think of it as encounter. That's what it means.
Okay. Encuentro.
Baila mi niña.
That's it. It was
That
like
means
6 o'clock.
dance my girl. That's a rumba. That's a fun tune.
Okay, and then the Soledad.
Soledad y su viaje. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. So anyway, I'd like to play those, but can you tell me a little bit about your group, your band?
Yeah. Well, first of all, great choice on those tunes. I mean, Encuentro and Soledad y su viaje. Encuentro is the one that names the album, right? It's the title track. And then Baila Mi Niña, that's the fun rumba that's in there. You know, most of the times people ask me about other pieces. They ask me about Nueva Vida, you know, which is I have like some GSI videos and stuff like that have a lot of views and stuff. And I'm actually working on writing Nueva Vida, particularly because I have like a bunch of people that are like asking me for it, you know. And
so you're hammering it out in the notation is what you're working on?
It's so damn hard to write it, and I will not write it in tab, you know. That's what traditionally is done, but I just am not going to do that.
Yeah.
It might look like a DN score when I'm done with it, which is like, you know, every indication for every little thing. It might be a task, but when it's done, it'll be in notation.
Great.
So it's fascinating that you're asking me about that, and I'm glad that you picked those pieces. Those are wonderful and not heard all the time. And going back to the trio, so the trio is myself on guitar and vocals, and we have Ramin Yazdampana, who is half Iranian, half Cuban, friend of mine that I met in Tallahassee at school, and he plays didgeridoo, Australian Aborigine didgeridoo. He plays, you know, now more recently this on our new album, which we're working on, this like handpan, which is like, I believe like an African and Caribbean instrument.
Okay.
And he also plays like everything percussion, like especially cajon. He's sitting on a cajon while he's doing all that. And then on top of that, we have David Cobb, who is an fantastic guitarist himself, actually, jazz guitarist and just fingerstyle guitarist, but also an amazing bass player. And that's what he does in this project, in my band. He provides that low, growly bass for us. And also, you know, he's actually working right now on developing some, we have some string parts on these on this new album. So he usually deals with that. He arranges pieces for orchestra and other things like that. He's also a very talented ethnomusicologist. And so There's what I like about this group is that there's a lot of brain in it, there's a lot of tradition in it, and there's a lot of passion in it, and a lot of virtuosity. And I believe that that's why we can make it as a trio, because every one of us is playing like their part. Everybody's part is very intricate and very elaborate, and it's not like, they're not just providing accompaniment for me, or I'm not just providing accompaniment for them. I mean, definitely the focus shifts from one to the other in every piece that we have.
Yeah.
So that's the element that I really, really like about that. And because there's three of us, we have to do that. Otherwise, it's just like it's lacking.
Yeah, and it sounds really. It's so. When I was listening to your album, the energy seems to be a very natural thing. The music itself probably has it, but you guys are. It's a very, very full of energy presentation, that album, and I really, really liked it.
Thanks, man. I love that. I'm glad you enjoy that. That's that album, and in general our music is not just like for any audience. I mean, it's for everybody. Would like for everybody to listen. Yeah. But it's also made with like the guitarist, the bass player, the percussionist in mind. Yeah. So it is also a music that we play for musicians as well.
Right.
Because that's kind of what we like too when we listen to music. So encuentro means encounter, and it's really an encounter of like multiple different styles. It was, and that's why we wanted to make it the title track, because really that whole album is an encounter of all that, right? You got the Australian.
You are listening to Encuentro by the Maharaja Flamenco Trio.
started in Peru, but then the flamencos, like revolutionized it and put a snare on it. And now it's part of flamenco. And then, you have like David's like bass playing, which is very jacko-y, in growl and tone and quality. And that's like characteristic to flamenco. So there's all these different elements. We also grew up listening to like Gypsy Kings and stuff like that, and we love that kind of music, that party music. So most of Encuentro is actually a rumba, but it has like parts where it switches from tangos into rumbas. And it's been an older tune that I performed before with my previous group that I had in Nashville, which was the Tequila Flamenco group. And we had an album with them too. It's now out of print, and but we still are really, really good friends, and maybe we'll do some projects together in the future. But I kind of like switched it a little bit. That was a quintet. I kind of changed it around a little bit and made it into more of a Maharaja feat. Yeah.
Well, it's a good one. There's a lot of energy there, and a little bit of jazz in all of this. And what about the other two that I mentioned?
Soledad.
Yeah.
So Soledad is su viaje. That's so it means Soledad, which is a name, a girl's name, and her voyage. That's what that means. Her travel. Yeah. Soledad. There is also this style of music, which has a little bit to do with why we named the piece Soledad. But for example, solear is the style of, or soleá, the style of flamenco. That's where it also comes from Soledad, which is this name, but it's also loneliness. That's why when you hear the soleá, there's like a little, very much like, depth and emotion into it. And it's sort of a crying song. You know what I mean? It's like spilling out all your grief and all of your suffering, usually traditionally with the theme of like being banished from one place to another, the gypsies. So but then in more recent days it could be also about love or suffering or about betrayal or many of those things. So it's really just a play on words with Soledad. It's the name of the girl, but it's also this like feeling, And then the voyages, the Soledad de su viaje, it's like this voyages because all of these parts that are in the piece like are leading through a different story. That piece really, maybe more than any other piece of ours, really tells a story.
You are listening to Soledad y su viaje by the Maharaja Flamenco Trio.
chords, and I don't know how to describe it other than it's like not one thing that's standalone, you know. And a lot of our pieces have like sonata form, where you have the reprise at the end, it comes back to the main theme, but this one does not. This one does it differently, you know. It's much more like through composed and changes a lot, you know.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites of those. So.
It's David's favorite. David always he always jokes, you know, when we have gigs, because that's a really hard one to do at gigs live. And you know, I always like, so what should we do next? And you know, Ramin's like saying something like really cool with a nice percussive part and like something to like get the party started. You know, he's the party animal of the band. and then you know, David is like always like, Soledad, you know, and I'm like, no, we're not doing Soledad. I'm not ready for that.
The dance.
Baila mi niña. Yeah, that's my girl. That one is like, that's really just you know, as close as we can get to a pop tune. You know,
okay.
It's, and we like to do something like that. And you hear the Gypsy Kings in it. You know, I'm not going to say that's. I grew up with that music.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely influence, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I love them for what they are. And when we're doing like a fun piece like that, it's awesome because like in our audience, you can see how like every song reaches a different part of our audience.
You're listening to Baila Mi Niña by the Maharaja Flamenco Trio.
Ay, Señor, tú que tienes mi alma, tú que tienes mi alma, tú que tienes el amor. Ay, Señor. cantaba lerey, lerey, y como la bailaba lerey, lerey, me enamoré, me enamoré. Y como la bailaba lerey, lerey, y como la cantaba lerey, lerey, me enamoré, lerey, lerey. Y como la cantaba lerey, lerey, y como la bailaba lerey, lerey, me enamoré, me enamoré. Ay, niña mía, qué cuerpecito, qué linda cara, qué buen amor. Ay, niña mía, qué cuerpecito, qué linda cara, me enamoré.
So you mentioned that you guys were doing an album. You're working on an album, right?
Yes,
yeah.
we are doing an album, and we have been doing these like Maharaja Sundays shows
I
for
saw
actually
that one. Yeah.
over the summer. We are now switching to bigger, better things, more like event sort of things. We've also done that because we've had to spend a lot of money adapting on this on new software, new hardware, new interfaces for it to sound good.
Yeah.
Cameras and other things. So now, for example, instead of the Sundays, we have like events that will, people will have ticketed. It'll be ticketed events that people will buy tickets to attend, and it won't be like a short like concert and talk. It'll be a long concert and talk. It'll be basically like two halves with an intermission, like a real concert, except for it's virtual. And we're doing actually a bunch of these for guitar societies. Guitar societies have really recently been interested in what we bring to the table. We have one for St. Louis Guitar Society, actually very recently, coming up in November. We're working on our new album. Our other album it says 2013 on it. We just actually reprinted a new batch of it. But, it was at the very end of 2013, really. It came out in 2014, but it was too late to change. Yeah. We work on songs for a really, really long time. And then we promote them for a really, really long time, because these are not your average, like, pop tunes that are 3 minutes long and that you just kind of put out on a conveyor belt. We just kind of really have a story to say with every tune that we come up with. Yeah. So we really invest in that whole process.
About your album, found it recently on Amazon Music.
Nice.
And I think you can purchase it from directly from the website, the band website.
Yeah, mftrio.com. You can purchase it like that, or just whatever is easiest for you. We don't care.
Yeah, and then but is it streaming on everything?
It is basically streaming on everything. Yeah. Okay. All right. It's also on CD Baby. I know CD Baby has shifted gears a little bit too, and they do things differently. It used to be on iTunes Music, now I'm sure it's on Apple Music. So it's on everywhere. But really, we put a lot of work, just how we put a lot of work in our recording of this and the composing of it and arranging of it and just everything. We put a lot of work in our like artwork too. We hired an artist to do the cover, and we have very important details. Like for me, it's really nice to get that physical copy. I still buy CDs. I know some people might think that that's like really old school, but you download the song, right? You online, you listen to it. That's it. It's you just like it or not. There's no, where was this recorded? What strings is this person using? What guitar is this? Right. Let's see some pictures of these guys. What are the liner notes? I want to sing along with that song. What are the lyrics to that song? Yeah. You don't get any of that. You don't get the artwork. You don't, Yeah, I remember. For this new album, we're thinking even to do it old school, release a vinyl.
Yeah, cool. I remember when I was younger, like purchasing CDs and like laying on my floor and listening to my favorite groups, and like flipping through and reading, because they had these huge, jackets, because everything, nothing was online. The information was all in that jacket, with the lyrics and all that stuff.
It.
And I miss those days. I've been thinking about that recently, actually. So it's interesting that you said that. Yeah.
That just gives you so much more information. If you're a real fan, that's the stuff. So we really encourage people to, especially now because we had so many requests. We ran out and we were like, okay, what do we do now? Do we just make it digitally? Leave it out there? That's indeed what most people purchase.
Yeah.
But, especially with this new age thing where, like, for the first time, vinyls are now, reach the same number of sales as CDs and other things.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like it's really, really nice. That's why if you want the CD, you should really go to our website and you should order it. And we, like an actual physical copy, and we really encourage doing that. In fact, what we'll do is we will send it to you personally in the mail, and we will sign it for you, so that it's got that, like, personal touch, because we want you to actually open up, read about it, and find out more about us and how we do things, so that you can, really satisfy that element,
Yeah, yeah. So tell me a little bit about your project with your wife.
The project with my wife is called Duo Silvania. I'm Silviu and she is Tanya.
Yeah.
And I always put her name first, but Tanya Sil did not sound as good as Silvania.
Yeah, I think you made a good choice there. Yeah,
she's from Transylvania, which is part of Romania. So it's also Transylvania. So there's just so many things that were pointing to that. So it's the Duo Silvania. And, she's an amazing violinist. We met at FSU, actually. It turns out we did not meet in Romania, although we backtrack some of our steps when we were young, students of music in Romania at conservatories. And we actually went to some of the same festivals and some of the same music camps and stuff like that. And even actually, I believe, accepted awards on the same stage. She won her division and I won mine, and then probably walked on the street right next to one another. And then we then met later on at Florida State. We just hit it off, and then afterwards we played music together. We started playing music together. I helped her for her recitals, and she helped me for mine at school, for our degree recitals. And we were like, hey, man, this really sounds cool. Let's do some more. So, we played a lot of Paganini, played a lot of, the traditional stuff that you hear for guitar and violin, but then some of the more modern stuff, and then we actually have our own arrangements of really cool music. And then also, even she's surprise, she's going to be featured on this new album that I'm doing with the guys where...
I was about to ask that. I was about to ask if she's going to get into...
There's this tune called El Mar Negro, which means the Black Sea, which is where I'm from. And it just kind of gave me, as I was writing it, this wavy sort of feel to it. And I was like, man, that just really brings me home. And I was like, why not? Let's just call it that.
Yeah.
And then I think it's her playing that brings that waviness to it. It's just so wonderful with the long notes of the violin. And so she's going to be on there. And then as far as like my recording with her, I think this new album that we started planning, we're actually not recording it yet, but we have every other thing pretty much set up for it. I think it's going to be a Latin American or South American record.
Oh, great. Silviu and I spoke for an additional hour. As I mentioned before, there will likely be a second podcast continuing to share our conversation. You can learn more about Silviu Ciulei at silviuciulei.com. Thank you for listening to Knox Guitar Box. If you would like to support Knoxville Classical Guitar and Knox Guitar Box, please visit knoxvilleclassicalguitar.com/podcast. There you will be able to make a single donation or set up monthly donations for any amount. Please know that all donations go directly to Knoxville Classical Guitar. This episode of Knox Guitar Box is sponsored by Francisco Navarro Guitars, handmade classical and flamenco guitars, fine quality craftsmanship, and amazing tone and playability in an affordable instrument. For more information, visit francisconavarroguitars.com. And by Flint Merrill Music, an online marketplace dedicated to music composed and arranged for the guitar. Visit flintmerrillmusic.com for more information. Knox Guitar Box is a production of Knoxville Classical Guitar, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that supports local and regional guitarists and students through performance, production, education, service, and community. For more information or to offer support for Knoxville Classical Guitar, visit knoxvilleclassicalguitar.com.